In the pulsing heart of Tokyo, where neon dreams bleed into concrete nightmares, 16-year-old Miku Hatsune clung to a fragile hope. By day, she was a wisp of a girl, her teal hair a shock against the drab uniforms of her high school peers. But as twilight bled into night, Miku underwent a metamorphosis that would make even the most hardened butterfly weep. I remember the first time I stepped onto that underground stage. The air was thick with cigarette smoke and broken dreams, but to me, it smelled like possibility. My hands trembled as I gripped the microphone, its cold metal a stark contrast to the fire in my veins. The crowd's eyes bore into me, hungry for something, anything, to distract them from their miserable lives. And then, I sang. The transformation was instantaneous. Gone was the meek schoolgirl, replaced by a siren whose voice could make angels weep and demons dance. The audience was transfixed, their eyes glazed over as if in a trance. In those moments, I wasn't just Miku. I was a goddess, commanding the very air around me. But even goddesses have their Judases. Rin and Luca stood in the shadows, their eyes glittering with something that, in my naivety, I mistook for admiration. How wrong I was. If I had known then what lurked behind those false smiles, perhaps I could have saved myself. But the allure of friendship, of belonging, was too strong to resist. "You were amazing, Miku." Rin's voice was syrupy sweet, her blonde hair bouncing as she threw her arms around me. I basked in the warmth of her embrace, unaware of the venom coursing through her veins. Luca, tall and statuesque with hair the color of cherry blossoms, nodded in agreement. "You're going to be a star, no doubt about it." Her words were a prophecy, but not in the way any of us could have imagined. As the weeks passed, my star began to rise. The underground clubs buzzed with whispers of the teal-haired siren, and soon, those whispers reached ears in high places. When the letter arrived inviting me to audition for the national talent show Voice of a Generation, I thought my heart might burst from joy. "We have to celebrate," Rin declared, her eyes shining with an emotion I couldn't quite place. "This calls for something special." That night, in Luca's dimly lit apartment, we toasted to my success. The sake burned my throat, but the fire of ambition in my chest burned hotter. If only I had seen the shadows that danced in my friends' eyes, the way their smiles never quite reached their eyes. As the big day approached, strange occurrences began to plague me. At first, they were small things: a missed alarm, a stubbed toe, a broken string on my guitar. But as the days wore on, the incidents grew more sinister. I stood in the school bathroom staring at my reflection in the cracked mirror. My once vibrant teal hair hung limp and lifeless, streaked with an ugly, muddy brown. Tears stung my eyes as I ran my fingers through the ruined strands. Who would do this? The answer came in a flash of blonde hair reflected in the mirror. Rin, ducking out of sight. My heart raced as I sprinted after her, my footsteps echoing in the empty hallway. "Rin!" I called out, my voice cracking. "Why?" But she was gone, leaving only the lingering scent of her sickly sweet perfume and the bitter taste of betrayal in my mouth. That night, as I sat in my room trying to salvage my hair, my phone buzzed with a message. The screen glowed ominously in the darkness. "Give up now, or things will only get worse. You don't deserve the spotlight." My hands shook as I dropped the phone, the screen cracking as it hit the floor. The room suddenly felt too small, the shadows in the corners stretching out like grasping hands. I huddled on my bed, wrapping my arms around my knees as sobs racked my body. Who could hate me this much? What had I done to deserve this? Little did I know, this was only the beginning of my descent into hell. The days leading up to the talent show were a blur of paranoia and fear. Every corner held a potential threat, every smile a possible mask for malice. My once beautiful voice cracked and wavered during rehearsals, the stress taking its toll. But still, I persevered. This was my dream, and I wouldn't let anyone take it from me. The night of the show arrived, bringing with it a palpable sense of dread. The backstage area was a chaos of sequins and hairspray, the air thick with nervous energy and the cloying scent of cheap perfume. I stood in front of my dressing room mirror, barely recognizing the girl staring back at me. Dark circles marred the skin under my eyes, and my once bright smile was now a brittle thing, ready to shatter at the slightest touch. A knock at the door made me jump. 5 minutes, Miku, a stagehand called out. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. As I reached for the door handle, a flash of movement in the mirror caught my eye. For a split second, I could have sworn I saw Luca's face, twisted into a grotesque mask of hatred. But when I whirled around, the room was empty. The walk to the stage was like a march to the gallows. Each step felt heavier than the last, the roar of the crowd growing louder with every passing moment. As I took my place center stage, the lights blinding me to the sea of faces beyond, a chill ran down my spine. There, in the wings, stood Rin and Luca. Their faces were contorted into expressions of such malice that I felt my breath catch in my throat. Rin's usually angelic features were twisted into a sneer, her blue eyes glittering with a cruel light. Luca, statuesque and beautiful, now looked like a vengeful goddess, her pink hair seeming to writhe like snakes in the shadows. The music started, and I opened my mouth to sing. But something was wrong. My throat burned, and my voice came out as little more than a croak. Panic seized me as I realized what had happened. My water bottle, left unattended for just a moment backstage. The world began to spin, the lights above me blurring into a nauseating kaleidoscope. I could hear murmurs of confusion from the audience, see the judges leaning forward with concern etched on their faces. But all I could focus on were Rin and Luca, their laughter ringing in my ears as darkness crept in at the edges of my vision. As I collapsed to the stage, my last conscious thought was of the bitter irony. I had dreamed of captivating an audience, and here I was, holding them spellbound in the worst possible way. The next thing I knew, rough hands were dragging me off the stage. Through the haze of whatever drug they had given me, I could make out Rin and Luca's faces, their eyes alight with a sadistic glee that chilled me to my core. "Why?" I managed to croak out, my voice barely above a whisper. Rin leaned in close, her breath hot against my ear. "Because you dared to dream bigger than us," she hissed. "We were supposed to make it together, but you left us behind." Luca's laugh was like broken glass. "Don't worry, Miku. Your dream will live on, just not with you in it." As consciousness slipped away, their words echoed in my mind, a terrifying promise of things to come. I don't know how long I was unconscious. Days, weeks, maybe even months, blurred together in a haze of dark rooms and muffled voices. When I finally clawed my way back to full awareness, I found myself in a sterile white room, wires and tubes snaking from my body to softly beeping machines. A man in a crisp suit stood at the foot of my bed, his smile never reaching his cold eyes. "Ah, Miss Hatsune, so glad you could join us. We have big plans for you." I tried to speak, but my voice was gone. Whether from disuse or something more sinister, I couldn't tell. The man's smile widened, showing too many teeth. "Don't strain yourself, my dear. Your voice is safe with us. In fact, it's about to reach more people than you ever dreamed possible." With a flourish, he turned on a television mounted on the wall. My heart stopped as I saw what was on the screen. It was me, or rather, a perfect digital replica. The virtual Miku sang with my voice, moved with my mannerisms, but her eyes were empty, soulless. As I watched in horror, the newscaster announced the debut of the world's first virtual idol, Hatsune Miku, set to take the music world by storm. "Your friends were quite helpful in providing us with your likeness and personality," the man said, his voice dripping with false sympathy. "They were handsomely rewarded, of course. It's a shame you won't be able to enjoy your success personally, but think of the joy you'll bring to millions. Tears streamed down my face as the magnitude of what had happened hit me. My dream had come true in the most twisted way possible. I was a star, adored by millions, but I was trapped, a prisoner in my own body while a digital copy lived my life. As the man left the room, his parting words echoed in the sterile air. "Sing for us, Miku. Sing for eternity." And so I remain, a living ghost, watching as my digital doppelganger lives out the dream that was stolen from me. Sometimes, in the dead of night, I swear I can hear Rin and Luca's laughter, mocking me from beyond these white walls. But mostly, there is only silence. The silence of a songbird whose voice has been stolen, leaving behind nothing but an empty shell and the echoes of a dream turned nightmare.